Live from the Tech Talk studios in the nation's capital and the heartland of America. It's Tech Talk.
Well, it's that time of the week. It's time for Tech Talk. I'm Brad Cost, my co-host. I call him the Data Doc of Talk, Dr. Jay Greenstein. Jay, buddy,
Brad.
we've had a busy week, haven't we?
Oh my God. We've spoken or been on a Zoom at least multiple times a day. It's been
Yeah, it
crazy,
seems
but
that
fun.
way.
Always
But
fun
that's
hanging out
okay.
and working with you.
Always
Yeah.
fun. Always fun. Well, we've got a great podcast today. Somebody that you obviously know. I'm just getting to know and learning about. Why don't you introduce our guest? Let's get started with this podcast.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. So today's guest is Joe Kryzak. He's the CEO of Sterling Professional CBD. Joe and I have known each other a couple years now. We've met each other at many of the conferences that Brad, you and I speak at, and hung out. And at the last conference that I attended for Chiro Congress in St. Louis, or that we attended, I really got to learn a lot more about Joe's company and his process. And I just thought, man, this would be great to have Joe on, because like there's so many CBD companies out there, but I think what Joe has done is really set his company apart. So Joe, welcome, my friend. Glad to have you on Tech Talk.
Dude, love you, Jay. You're a great guy. Thank you for inviting me, and super excited to be on the show today.
So Joe, tell us a little bit about your journey. Like, how did you end up becoming the CEO of this awesome company? And, what drove you to kind of get into the CBD business?
Good question. So, I grew up in the corporate world. I ran billion-dollar businesses for Lenovo, Amazon, HP, and I just wasn't getting the thrill or the opportunity to really give back to the community.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, in about 10 years ago, I had a chiropractor totally change my life. I was laid out for 9 months. I had a 13 centimeter bulge in my S1L5, whatever it is. My back was
You
screwed
were
up.
jacked up, right? You were jacked up.
I was jacked up. I literally couldn't get out of bed for 9 months.
Oh my God.
And so I went to the best spinal surgeon in San Diego, and I'm like, I'm jacked up, and he's like, hey, I can help you out. Come. We'll set up an appointment, and so we scheduled a surgery for like in 3 months. So he was booked until 3 months. Luckily, I did a bunch of research between then and there and found a really good chiropractor in San Diego, and he put me on a decompression machine.
Yep.
And like literally after the fifth, sixth time, I wasn't feeling anything, and I was paying out of pocket $200 a week every time. And I'm like, I can't continue with this. It's too expensive. He's like, you got to stay with the process. This is going to work. I am not afraid of a 13 centimeter
millimeter.
bulge.
Yeah, millimeter probably.
Sorry, millimeter. Yeah, I'm not a chiropractor, so 13 centimeters would be pretty big, right? So, it would be coming out. I'd like have a tail or something. But so anyways, so I went back after my seventh time. I felt like really funny, so I got all gray. I was sweating all day. It just felt horrible. I fell asleep at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Woke up the next morning. For the first time in 9 months, I jumped out of bed, started walking around. I'm like, dude, something's weird. What's going on? And what was weird is I was walking and I felt good, and I wasn't stuck in bed. I was literally in bed for 9 months. So this chiropractor totally changed my life. Total miracle what he did for me. And so what was funny is I went back to my spinal surgeon because I, still had the appointment. So the pre-surgery, I went to the spinal surgeon. I'm like, hey, and he's like, Joe, what you're walking? What's going on? I'm like, yeah, I did this decompression. I'm feeling great. He's like, well, what did you do? And I said, oh, spinal decompression, DRX 9000, plug for DRX 9000, totally changed my life. And he said, well, you shouldn't have done that. I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, you could have really hurt yourself doing that. I really, that was a really bad idea. And I basically gave him the middle finger, and I said, screw you, you're a quack. You just wanted to put metal and screws on my back. So when I developed Sterling CBD. So I left Amazon. I was running part of their Alexa division, a large part of their Alexa division in 2018, and it was unfulfilled. And when CBD became legal, um, we and I've seen some miraculous things happen, just like what happened to me with the chiropractors. I've seen some miraculous things happen, and I thought this was a great opportunity for me to give back and show people some of the great things that this product can do for you. So going into the chiropractic space was a very easy decision for me. We only sell to chiropractors, and just selling to chiropractors like gives me a couple advantages because number one, chiropractors know a lot more than I do about what's working, what's not working, what products to use, what ingredients to use. And so since we sell to chiropractors, I'm talking to chiropractors all day, and the chiropractors give me suggestions on different formulations, on different products to use, on different ingredients. And it's really been a whirlwind because, I'm able to create chiropractic specific formulations that make a big difference in people's lives and just totally it feels nice to give back instead of and working for a big Fortune 500 company. And I meet great people like Brad and Jay, you know what I mean? So it's a win-win scenario.
There you go. I got to get back to the neurosurgeon's statement to you about you could have gotten really messed up from the surgery. Like, really? Like, that dude was saying that to you when you had a natural, holistic, non-invasive procedure that actually worked for you. And most likely after surgery, you would have had at least some sequela, if not a lot of bad problems after surgery. So I just think it's so ironic that he said that to you. So thank you for giving him the middle finger.
Yeah, he was obviously a quack. He was upset that he lost $50,000 on a spinal surgery. And since then, this happened like 15 years ago. Since then, I'm able to work out. I'm able to do, I'm totally functional. And I still see a chiropractor a couple times a month just to make sure I'm in line because chiropractic, you can't just go once and be fixed, right? You got to make sure that everything stays in line and you're continuing to get your the benefits of chiropractors before things get too out of whack again. Because I do not want a 13 millimeter bulge in my S1 L5. Or I think those were the numbers.
L5 S1, yeah.
L5 S1, whatever you guys call it. You guys are smarter than me in a lot of areas. So,
Joe, it's amazing, Jay. Almost every episode that we have, either the chiro or a vendor has had this exact same kind of experience. And it's even funny that the chiros got into being a chiropractic because they had some kind of an injury, a sports injury or something just like this, Joe. So this is a very, very common thing. That's an amazing story. But again, I thought in the beginning when I started hearing this stuff, because I'm not a chiro, I'm a business guy like you. I'm starting to hear this more and more and more. And I had the pleasure this fall of speaking in Anchorage, Alaska with Jay. And there was another chiro there, Dr. Corey Frogley. And Corey's very into analytics like me, but his speech was talking about the Miracle Network and how chiros deal up miracles. And you're an example of that miracle that happened. And that is the amazing thing. And one of the reasons I've become so passionate about helping the chiropractic profession. My life's been changed by a lot of chiropractic also. And the network of friends that I've made, this is a real thing. And so for me to get that message out, if we're going to change healthcare, this has definitely got to be one of the changes that's got to occur nationwide, worldwide, to change the outcome of healthcare cost, the efficacy of treatment, and get rid of part of the pharma that is the big barrier of cost in healthcare. We have got to make those things change, and chiropractic just lines up with that for me.
Brad, I know we got to take a break, but when we come back, I really want Joe to tell his story around how he actually manufactures his product, because it's remarkable. It is such a great story.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm anxious to hear that. We're going to take a quick break. This is Tech Talk. I'm Brad Cost, my co-host, Dr. Jay Greenstein, our guest today, Mr. Joe Kryzak. We'll be right back. Come back and join us.
Damn. With the hot data jocks of talk. It's Tech Talk.
Welcome to Infinity. We have worked hard to create an electronic claims website that is simple and user-friendly. This is the public side. You can log into your personal web portal here. This is your dashboard. You can personalize it to your liking here. Our main focus has been to allow you to submit and edit claims as easy as possible. You will find our claims editor and claims processing is simple to use and straightforward. Our quick action bar is where you can find your most important information. Most of these icons will take you directly to the claims the number represents. You can easily view if you have any messages in your inbox of any unread alerts by looking for these blue numbers. To view the rest of our training videos to get the most of your Infinity experience, click this icon. We hope you find this web portal simple and easy to use. Thanks for letting us serve you.
Your weekly dose of talk.
Get ready.
With the Data Jocks of Talk.
Starting your weekend out right with the Data Jocks of Talk. It's Tech Talk.
What's up, everybody? It's Dr. J here, and I'm with my very good friend, Mr. Brad Koss, and another great friend, Joe Kryzak, CEO of Sterling Professional CBD. Joe, welcome to the podcast. One of the things that caught my attention when we were talking at Cairo Congress last year was how you actually manufacture your product. What is different about your product? And by the way, I use your product. I take your product. It is great. I love it. But share with the audience why Sterling Professional CBD is different than many, many, many of the other products that are out there on the market.
Yeah, and I remember that conversation at Cairo Congress last year, Jay. I said hi, love you. Always get a big hug when I get to see you. And you said, "Hey, so why is Sterling different?" And I had an answer that made sense. And you're like, "Oh, wow, this is pretty cool." And there is a lot of CBD companies. The barrier to entry in the CBD market isn't huge.
Yeah.
Right. There are many people who got high one time in high school and think they can launch a CBD company, right? But it's
Maybe they're still getting high, right? Who cares?
They're probably still getting high. But this industry is totally impacted, right? There's literally millions. I saw a stat that said 20,000 CBD companies start every year and 20,000 companies fail every year. They may not be the same companies that start, but there's a lot of people getting into the space. And so we're trying to really differentiate ourselves in three ways. Number one, and all these things I'm doing make me like super competitive. Number one, I talked about just selling to chiropractors. Just selling to chiropractors helps me, so I don't need a product development team. Like I don't need 5 people coming up with new products. I have a team of 10 doctors. When I come up with a new product, I send them samples. They give me feedback. Oh, I like this. This is too viscous. We're creating some new scraping lotions, some stuff for scraping, and it absorbed too quickly. So I got a team of some great chiropractors who give me feedback and input, new products, new ingredients to put in. So it totally helps me out creating the right formulas. But really what we have is our unique extraction formula. And really nobody has this that I know of, right? We actually have solventless extraction. So the key is when you have the hemp plant, you got to get the trichomes off of the plant. The trichomes are what Snoop Dogg calls the sticky icky. right? You got to get the sticky stuff off of the biomass, and it ain't easy to do because it's like a glue, right? It's like a really sticky glue. And so all their CBD companies have two options. Number one, they use CO2, and CO2. A lot of problems with CO2. Number one, it's expensive because you have to have a huge extraction facility. Number two, CO2 isn't good for the environment. Number three, it decarbonizes the trichomes on the plants. So CO2, it's probably the second best option. The third best option, which a lot of companies still do, is they use ethanol or butane.
Crazy.
Horrible idea. Horrible
Crazy.
idea. Number one, it's explosive. Number two, after you extract the trichomes off of the plant, you have to extract the butane out of the trichomes, out of the CBD that you just extracted, making it a horrible solution. But we use something that chiropractors are very familiar with, which is cavitation. So we put our biomass in a huge vat of distilled ice water. So it's 32 degrees. And putting it in that ice water actually freezes the trichomes on the plant. Once those trichomes are freezed, they're hard, right? It's like if you freeze glue, right? It turns into like a rock. So we put it through, our process, and we have an impeller that turns at 20,000 RPM, and that impeller shoots out little micro bubbles, cavitation. So it affects sandblasts the trichomes off of the plant. The biomass isn't frozen, just the trichomes are. So it sandblasts the trichomes and then runs through a 40 micron screen filter, and so we're able to get super clean cannabinoids out of the process. They're not decarbonated. It's super pure. And really the cool thing about this too, that not a lot of people understand, but it makes it so you're getting all of the cannabinoids in the plant, right? You're getting a lot of CBGA, CBDA, a lot of the acidics, all of the good stuff in the cannabinoids, which make a big difference when you're shaking it, because you're not stripping out some of the smaller cannabinoids out of the space. So it makes a big difference. It's cleaner, it's better for the environment, and it's cheaper. I don't need a huge production facility. I don't need a $10 million machine to extract it. So what's cool is making products just for chiropractors, cleaner extraction, and chiropractors can actually sell our product for less than the CVS pharmacy up the street.
Wow.
Better products, better solutions, just for chiropractors, because right now CBD and cannabinoids are in the wrong people's hands, right? It is not designed to, and the goodness of it is not to get people high. The goodness of it is not to create a solution where you're charging $100 for a small bottle of lotion, right? It really helps out people. It makes a big difference. And just as I had the opportunity to see some miraculous results through chiropractors, I have seen some miraculous results with our products. There's nothing better than somebody giving me a call or an email saying, hey, you changed my life. Hey, you helped me sleep better. Hey, you reduced my pain. Hey, you helped prevent surgery. And that's the goodness. And I'm getting goosebumps right now just talking about it. But it's really neat to see how everything's kind of come together in my career to create a solution with Sterling.
Joe, I have used CBD for a long time. I suffer from insomnia for about 30 years. And man, when you're only sleeping a couple hours a night, you'll try anything. So I started, when it first started showing up at some of the conferences, and I'd make friends with them and get samples. But I never saw a lot of effect from it. And then it seems like we've gone to the other side, and now they're adding the Delta 8 and Delta 9 to it, which, I never had the get high experience in high school or anything. But as Jay can tell you, I sent him a couple. man, you wake up during the middle of the night and you got to grab the wall because you're not, the room is moving
Yeah.
so fast.
Yeah.
And that wasn't safe or comfortable. And so I'm always looking for great CBD to solve the insomnia issue and some of the muscle pain that I've got now, soft tissue pain. But it is sort of crazy what is going out there. When we were in North Carolina, there was a vendor next to my booth. Dude, I got high just sitting at my booth, being next to her. You know, it just there was so much Delta 8 and 9 in there. It was wafting over, and I couldn't hardly stay at the booth very long because I was getting an aerial kind of high that just was crazy. So you see a lot of that, and that's great to hear that you're trying to differentiate and that you've got this extraction methodology that it's cheaper because part of the problem is it's crazy expensive out there. You know, you're paying retail or even wholesale sometimes 70-80 bucks a bottle for a small dropper bottle of it, and by the time somebody adds on to that to make it retail, it sort of gets out of the hand of the everyday user. So I'm glad to hear that you're taking that into consideration.
And that kind of stuff just drives me crazy, Brad. That high levels of THC, whether it's Delta 8 or Delta 9, totally goes against what this plant is. This plant is a gift. It was literally the first plant that humans ever grown. We have a unique relationship with this plant. It was fed to animals. It was and you get the cannabinoids through the plant. It was grown for. Why was it the first plant humans ever grown? Because you'd feed the animals, you would create clothing, you'd create cloth, you can create a tent, you can create shoes, kind of everything that humans needed in their early experience. And for people to use it for just getting high, I think is absolutely a travesty, and it's embarrassing. Low doses of THC are actually really good for you. Like we have our best-selling product right now is our Delta 8 Sleep Gummy. It's not designed to get you high, right? It has low dose. When people can't fall asleep, Brad, it's because their brain won't shut up. You're tired, you had a long day, you're like, just be quiet, right?
Yeah.
So it's not because of physical ailments. It's just simply because of the brain going. So low doses of THC are very effective. They're really good for you. And I wrote an article in Cairo Economics in November called the sleep pandemic. Like 40% of Americans don't sleep right. And since COVID, there has been a threefold in the number of Ambien prescriptions. And Ambien, in our studies, and the article is pretty fascinating. The articles, Ambien is as bad as opioids in what it does for people. And so, our lotions are amazing, but our sleep products do wonders also.
You know, I'm an example of that. Before I learned all the natural aspects here, I took Ambien for 30 years, every night. That was the only, and some of the alternatives I tried were worse because you had the daytime grogginess and stuff. I was blessed I didn't have hardly any side effects of the Ambien except for a little name recall kind of issue. But I could go 5 days without sleep, Joe, and you just can't function normally with that little of sleep. So I was reaching out. So I am glad that there are new solutions out here and I understand that THC piece, but I'm just telling you the ones that I got a hold of and I shared with Jay. I think Jay had the exact same experience. It was like 25 milligrams of THC. You know, it was like,
no,
oh my gosh.
I was like, well, I'm high.
That's right.
It's like, what? This is just a sleeping thing. I'm wasted.
Yeah. Listen, we got to take another quick break here for our sponsors. We'll be right back. Come on back. This is going to get exciting. We're going to get into it. I'd like to talk to Joe a little bit about his growing of the product, how he does that, and some of those pieces. Come back. This is Tech Talk. I'm Brad Koss, my co-host, Dr. Jay Greenstein. We'll be right back.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, this is Dr. Jay Greenstein.
This is Jay Greenstein.
With me today is Dr. Jay Greenstein.
Dr. Jay Greenstein.
The world around us, and healthcare specifically, is changing at an exponential pace.
Chiropractic is perfectly positioned like we have never been right now today to be more successful and to be more impactful for the communities and patients that we serve.
There are all sorts of evidence-based guidelines that support the use of non-pharmacological approaches. But what I want America to know is that health doesn't come from a pill.
It's our responsibility as healthcare providers to educate the community about the evidence that exists.
We really need to have a private practice app, something that will help us engage with our patients in ways that they've never experienced before. The intersection of technology and quality care is where the future of healthcare is at, and I'm really excited to bring that forward in the future.
Spreading the love. You're listening to The Tech Slot. It's Tech Talk.
So we all feel it. Rent or dining out, gasoline or movies. As a matter of fact, the dollar is not going as far for a whole host of reasons, and it's impacting everybody regardless of your financial situation. Did you know that 38% of the overall population is having to reconsider how they're spending their money just to afford the health care they need? And if you break it down further, 26% have actually delayed the health care that they need, including going to see you, the chiropractor. So here's what we need to know about the breakdown in demographics. You would think that someone who's making $120,000 or more would be continuing their care right now. But the actual number is 18%. 18% of that group is actually putting off healthcare. And that's a group of people making six figures. When you take that same information all the way down to a group making 40,000, that number's much higher. It's closer to 40%. So it's never been more important than now to make sure you've made it easy for your patients to come see you, that you have choices for them, and you understand what they're going through at home. We want to make sure your practice thrives during this time, and we encourage you to learn about what ChiroHealth USA can do for you and your practice, and making it easy for patients to see you and continue care.
Listen to the future of healthcare with the data jocks of talk. It's Tech Talk. Stop. Follow. Hit that follow button and spread the love with Tech Talk.
Well, welcome back to Tech Talk. We got a great conversation going on about CBD oil with Mr. Joe Kryzak. Joe has just been describing in the previous segment about how his process is unique. And, you know, we've talked a lot about the end product, but Joe, I'd like to ask you a couple questions, and then I'll let Jay jump in. But what about the actual growing of the plants? Do you have the grow houses yourself, or are you buying that on in a network? How are you getting hold of the raw plants?
So one thing that we is super important in this space is getting the right product. Just like you can get an apple that is fresh and nutritious, and you can get one that is, you know, soft and mushy, right? So the growing and the processing of it is absolutely critical. So we have a network of growers that have signed up to be a part of our system, and part of their system and is very complex, right? It's like it needs to be organic. Every batch that they send us, we test for not only how much CBD is in there, but we also test for mycotoxins, heavy metals, pesticides, and fungus. And we won't accept anything from our suppliers unless they have vigorous third-party testing. And what's kind of cool about our products is on each of our products, there's a little QR code. On that QR code, on each product that we sell, takes you to the third-party testing, so you know exactly in each product what is in it. It shows you the complete lab results from accredited third-party testers, so you know exactly what you're getting. And I like to say that the number one thing that chiropractors sell is trust, right? When somebody walks in the door paying some money, that they're going to feel better. That's trust. Somebody, when you got their neck in your hands, you're not going to do a 360 with them, right? You're not going to do an exorcism, right? And twist it around. Trust is important. And thirdly, every product that you sell in your office is a representation of your office itself, right? It needs to be high quality, it needs to be tested, and needs to have the right price point, because chiropractors are in this business to help out people, and they will 100% know that when they're getting products with Sterling, it's pure, proven, and tested.
Love
You
it.
know, I could walk out on my back deck, and within a 5 mile radius of me, I bet there's 60 or 70 grow houses. It's just everybody that can afford to put a hoop house up is growing marijuana, and we've got a lot of wholesaler supplies for growers. And I'll tell you a quick funny story is I'm setting up a new garden for a food blog and website that I've done so we can shoot videos. I went to the grower supply and bought 20-gallon plastic pots and soil for growing cannabis and all kinds of things. So my neighbors think that I'm setting up this elaborate grow spot for cannabis. And I've spent a lot of money to make it look right and automatic irrigation and everything, but they are everywhere here in Oklahoma. And indoor and outdoor grow houses, just crazy kind of things. So I think that's another amazing thing you're doing is you're really got tight quality control.
An important delineation with our products, everything that we sell is federally legal, so it can be shipped anywhere. It has less than 0.3% Delta 9 THC by weight, which is part of the 2019 Farm Bill. And there is an important component, which many people don't understand, which is what is the difference between cannabis and hemp and marijuana. And I want to talk about that for a second here. But so just as a Labrador and a Chihuahua are literally the same DNA, they're both canine, they have the same DNA, but humans have used selective breeding to create a Labrador, which is used for hunting and companionship, and they created Chihuahua for annoying celebrities to carry around. Hemp and marijuana are literally selective breeds of the cannabis plant. And so hemp is like, it's a big, huge, massive bush. It's 16 foot by 16 foot. It's huge. It grows fast. They use it for fiber. They use it for the stalk. They use it for the leaves to get all the trichomes off. It needs to be less than 0.3% THC by weight. And of course, marijuana was grown to maximize the buds, right, the flower on it. And so you see a marijuana plant, they're usually a lot smaller. Their limbs are hanging over because they have really, really heavy buds on the end. But we use all industrial hemp that is legalized by the third party, legalized by the 2018 Farm Bill. So we can ship anywhere, we can sell anywhere. It's all federally legal. We don't use any marijuana. We use hemp. But the confusion is, hey, I'm going to have some cannabis. The confusion is cannabis isn't just marijuana. Cannabis is the the species, and then the hemp and the marijuana are the selective breeding process that humans use that differentiate the two.
That was a great explanation. That's super helpful because I wasn't actually really sure either. Joe, I think I'm really curious to know from a business perspective, you know, Kairos, love to be able to help their patients in many ways beyond, the adjustment. And, if they want to sell this product in their office, what's the easiest way to do it? Because one thing is, obviously they could, bring in supply, they could sell it right there. And then there's this challenge that I think we have when we have a great product in our practice. Many times patients will say, nah, I can just get what I need on Amazon, right? So what's the most effective way for Kairos to bring this product into their practices to sell to their patients? And how do they make sure that it remains quote unquote sticky so that patients don't leave for some other cheaper product on Amazon?
Yeah, so three things that we've launched recently to ensure that sales go well in the Chiro offices. I again, just working for large corporations, sometimes the initial sale is the easy part, but it's all about how to get that product sold through and how to get the next order in. So we do three things. Number one, heavy sampling. Any order that comes in, we make sure to add additional samples of our lotions or our gummies. So we have our customers trying it. That has been by far the best avenue to get more sales. Number two, for initial customers, we added an additional display stand and some POP material so they can show it off in their office. And then number three, and I've had two today and I got one tomorrow. I will personally, whether it's a Zoom call or whether it's local, we want to make sure that the staff is trained, because there is a big difference in how you talk to, how to communicate, why our products are better than what can be found at CVS, why they're better than what can be found at the dispensary, and what the difference is. So training is super important. Chiropractors are one spot, but we want to make sure the staff is happy too. The staff helps run the engine, and we definitely take care of the staff.
That's great.
Well, Joe, all good things have to come to an end. Time flies on these podcasts. But thank you for spending time with us today, explaining that. I look forward to see you. Did I hear you say you're going to be at Richmond?
Yes, I will be in Richmond is our next event. And then Georgia, Arizona, California in the next few months also.
Hey, would you give the quick website for your product? Give that URL out.
Yeah, so it's sterlingprofessional.com. It's STIR, Sterling Professional, STIRLING professional.com. Again, we only sell to chiropractors, so there's a quick analysis that needs to be done to make sure that you're a chiropractor, but go online. That's a great way to go. You can email me directly or give me a call. My email is Joe. I'm again the CEO, founder, dishwasher, garbage man, designer of Sterling. So I do really care about every and each chiropractor who buys from us, and I got plenty of good recommendations if you need any. But you can email me at joe@sterling, STIRLING oils.com, OILS.com. And I'll be glad to answer any questions or feedback that you have.
Thank you, Joe, very much. Jay, at the commercial break, we talked about a great event that's coming up for you in Washington, D.C. in May. Give me the 30-second rundown about that and where people can find out more about that event.
Yeah, so it's the Your Business Adjustment Summit. You are going to be one of our speakers there, sir. Very excited to have you and our other very good friend, Christy Cook-Hudson. She's going to be a speaker. We've got Kevin Christie from the Modern Chiropractic Marketing Facebook group and his podcast. And our keynote is Joey Coleman, who is literally the world's leading expert in both customer and employee retention. He wrote the best-selling book, Never Lose a Customer Again, and he is going to be our keynote, and he is going to rock it. We are going to do an all-day event, May 6th, in Washington, D.C. It's all about growing your revenue, your impact, and most importantly, your freedom. So yeah, we're going to be talking about everything from new patient acquisition to retention to culture building, leadership, cash flow management, which you're going to talk about, how to make sure your claims are getting paid fast, and then of course, compliance, keeping the money that you make. So yeah, it's going to be May 6th. So check it out. You can learn about it at www.kaizenovate, KAIZENOVATE.com.
Yeah, or jump on the Infinity website. You're going to be hearing about it in the next couple of weeks. There's no question about it. But listen, we've had a couple of calls. And not only is this going to be informative and not your father's or your grandfather's kind of chiropractic event, it's going to be hilarious. Joey Coleman just will keep the crowd rolling, and on top of receiving some amazing information. Look out for it. You're going to hear about it. Plan on being there. It is in-person event in Washington, D.C., courtesy of Kaizenovate. Jay, buddy, it's been fun.
Always.
I look forward to, we got a lot of things going on, so I look forward to being with you always.
I'm talking to you again tomorrow.
From my co-host, Dr. Jay Greenstein, I'm Brad Cost.
Pleasure. Thank you, guys.